the dimensions review is a really fast process that we do on a monthly basis, and it looks at the last 3 months of click data. But what we're doing is we want to see if there's any times of the day, for example, where the campaigns are performing really well. So I'll just walk you through how to do this because it doesn't take very long. The process that you need to have open is system number 25, so you can follow along with that. That will be the most recent document. But just to run through it, so step one in the process is to set the date range to view data for the last 90 days. We can only do this on clients where there is 90 days of data in the account. You just don't get enough stats generally from 30 days. I'll advise if that's ever different for particular clients. You know, it could be the case that we get a client that has a huge number of clicks, but generally you're going to be looking at 90 days. So step one is to come to the date range in the top right, and you're going to change this to 90 days. There isn't a default option for 90 days. What you have to do is you have to select a custom date range. So the end date will be today, which for me is the 11th of February. And then what you need to do then is you'll need to work back from that. So work back from the 11th of February, 1, 2, 3, 11th of November, and apply. And then that'll give you this extended date range. Make sure you're looking at all the campaigns, so click on all online campaigns and then click on the dimensions tab. And the first thing I want you to look at, so step 3 in the process, is to look at day of the week. So on this drop down you can choose various options. So if you go into time, day of the week, then Google will show you how this account has performed across different days of the week. What we're looking for here are days that are performing particularly well and particularly badly. So what I've put in the process document is I'm only really interested in days where there are more than 12 conversions. And that's a little bit stingy, to be honest. I mean, I think really I might update that to be about 30 conversions. Because obviously you need enough conversions in order to accurately know whether it's bad performance or just randomness, basically. But this is quite good. So all of the days have got sort of, you know, at least approaching 50 conversions, which is good. That gives us something to work on. So the things to look at here, obviously, are the cost per conversion. For most accounts, you're going to look at the cost per conversion. If it's an e-commerce client, like in this case it is, you might also want to look at conversion value divided by cost. I'll add this into the process actually. So yes, so conversion value divided by cost is really useful for e-commerce websites. And what this does is this gives you a number. So this compares. So conversion value would be the total value of sales on Monday compared to the total cost on Monday, for example. So if this number was 1, the client would have spent £980 and that would have brought in £980 in revenue. So as this is a number 2, the client spent £980 and this will have brought in about £1,800 in revenue. So this is quite useful for e-commerce sites where we've got a good idea of how much money is actually coming in. So what I can see here is that Friday is actually a very good day. So Um, they've got a low cost per conversion. The conversion rate is higher than all the other days. And most importantly for this site, the conversion value to cost ratio is actually 3.4. So for every £725 they're spending, that's bringing in about 2,000, maybe £2,300 in revenue. So what I would do for this is I would raise the bids on Friday. I would bid more on Friday because this looks like a really good day. The other days, I think I would leave for now. I mean, this Thursday looks promising as well. So you got a cost per conversion of almost 10 quid. Quite a good conversion rate, 5% compared to sort of 3.5. So I think maybe that's something I would put in an email to me. Um, something to keep an eye on. Wednesday is the worst performing day, so this has got a cost per conversion of 17 quid, conversion rate of just under 3%, and a conversion value to cost ratio of 1.2. So my recommendation for that would be to email me and say, look, these are the stats for Wednesday. Conversion value to cost is 1.2. Cost per conversion is 17 quid. Recommends dropping bids. So the outcome of all of this is that we would raise bids on Friday probably by about 15% and lower bids on Wednesday probably by about 10%. So that's step 3 in the process. So hopefully that's interesting. I found that interesting anyway. So step 4 is to go to time, hour of the day. So again, we're looking for the same sort of insights here, but Google's telling us performance stats for different times of the day. So 5 to 6 in the morning, 8 to 9 in the morning, etc. I would ignore all of these hours that have almost no conversions, because even though the cost per conversion at 6 in the morning is 27 quid, there's only one conversion, which doesn't make it very meaningful. And really, we're looking for trends here. We're looking for real outliers. So hours of the day or periods of the day have very different performance trends to other times of the day. And you know what? As we look down at all of these, they actually look quite similar. So it's worth scanning down the cost per conversion first. So sort of 10 quid, 11 quid, 9 quid, 11 quid, 10 quid, 10.50, 10 quid, 11 quid. They're all sort of similar really. This one's a bit lower, 8 quid. 6 o'clock is performing badly, but the other thing to look at, because this is an e-commerce website, I'd also have a look down the conversion value to cost ratio. So 10 in the morning is doing quite well. What I would probably suggest is that we, looking at this, that we maybe raise bids at 10 and 11 in the morning, because based on the conversion value to cost ratio. 1 till 2 in the afternoon looks quite good. I would probably be tempted to leave these, and I'd leave these ones as well. I think there's an argument here because 10 and 11 o'clock at night, they've got relatively high cost per conversions. Not a huge number of conversions, but the ratio down here is quite bad. So I think my recommendations for this would be to pause 10 and 11 o'clock and then raise the bids, say, by 10%, 1 and 2 o'clock, and 10 and 11 o'clock. That's probably what I would do. So that's hours of the day. Sometimes you'll have a look at this and there either won't be enough data, or it just won't be meaningful. If it's not meaningful, we don't do anything. Okay, so that was step 4. Step 5 is to check for differences in performance by device. So by device, I mean mobile phones, principally mobile phones actually. So what you need to do is you need to come back to the campaigns tab. You need to go to segment and go to device. And then what I would do, so this will show you, it'll break it down for each individual campaign, but you need to scroll right to the bottom and open up. This might not be opened up initially, but there'll be a little plus sign by total all campaigns. You can open that up and it'll tell you the performance between computers and mobiles. It also tells you the performance of tablets, but there's nothing I can do about that because you can't set different bids for tablets at the moment, which is pretty rubbish, but that's how it is. So what I would do is I would check this performance. So obviously, in this case, the cost per conversion for mobiles is a lot higher than computers. Conversion rate is less than half, and the conversion value to cost ratio is much lower. So the recommendation from this would actually be to pause mobile devices. In this case, they've already been paused, but because we're looking at a 90-day date range, it's still showing stats from November or so when they weren't paused. But that would be the recommendation would be to pause mobile devices. Equally, if mobiles are doing a lot better, then we might want to look at raising the bids on mobile devices as well. That's step 5. So you need to go back to the top for step 6, which is to check differences in performance in ad position. So what I mean by this, so if I go to Google, what we're doing, and we do a search for natural gloves. So what we're doing here is we're checking for the difference in performance between ads that appear in the top positions up here and the sponsored listings at the very top, and ads that are appearing in the sidebar down here, because Google will tell you how these differ. So if you come back to campaigns, go into segments again, what you want to do is you want to select top versus other, and Google will update the segments, and again you need to scroll down to the bottom. So this looks a bit confusing at first, but if you bear with me, so what this is telling us, so for Google search ads that appear at the top of the page, we've got a cost per conversion of £12, conversion rate of almost 4%, and importantly, a value to cost ratio of 1.9. So we're getting in almost twice as much revenue as we're spending. But when the ads are appearing on the side, which Google calls other, cost per conversion is much lower. It's £8.42, and the value to cost ratio is up at 2.5. So what this tells me is I think we need to specifically target the side of the page, not the top of the page, because if you think about it, the ads at the top of the page are a lot more expensive. So sometimes what you find is you get more clicks you do get more clicks at the top of the page, but they tend to be more expensive. But that's not what we're interested in. We're trying to find out where we can make more money for the amounts of money we're spending anyway. I'm going to go straight into so that's number 6. So my recommendation would be to target the ads on the side of the page. Okay, point 7 is to check for performance of search partners. So Google's actually telling us here. Just to explain what this is, when you run ads on Google, by default Google also runs ads on something that they call their search partners. So these are websites like AOL, sometimes like older ones like Lycos. There are other search engines that Google also runs ads on. So again, all you need to do with this is, in fact, no, you do need to change this. So you need to go back to the top, and you need to go to segments, and you need to go to network with search partners. Back to the bottom, Okay, so what we can see is that Google search has a cost per conversion of 11 quid, but the conversion value to cost ratio is up at 2%. Well, it is up at 2. For search partners, cost per conversion is lower, but people look like they're spending less. Um, so the ratio is at 1.6. I think that that's close enough in performance to leave that for now. I don't think I would change anything there. But sometimes sometimes you can see drastic performance differences one way or the other, and that's the stuff that we need to know about. So that's it. That's the 7 steps. So what I want you to do from that is basically email me your findings, and we'll make changes as a result.